With the corn and soybean growing season over, many growers may be poring over all the data they collected throughout the year as they look ahead to 2016. But Nebraska Extension educator Krienke says getting truly useful information from that data might be easier said than done. We talked with Brian earlier this week to learn how farmers could get more out of the material they gathered.
There's a ton of data, like you said, and there's so many different layers of information, especially the yield data would be number one to start considering. And going into this next year, I'm a soils guy, so I'm really interested in soils information, especially when we're talking about fertilizer application. To get that yield to help you make good decisions on maybe where it'd be more profitable or not profitable to put that fertilizer. And so yield monitoring gives us that ability, but a lot of pitfalls with that data happen because it's not clean data, it's junky data, computers screw up, across all the brands there's issues, and so we really need to talk about how to get through that and clean it so it's appropriate to use and interpret.
What are some of those common pitfalls that a lot of growers face?
Well, I would say the number one thing is failing to calibrate the monitor. And there may be very little we can do at this point if it wasn't calibrated during the season. But when people are trying to evaluate, say, varieties or hybrids and things like that, if they want to make a good decision on which hybrid did better, but they didn't calibrate one hybrid and the other one separately, they may not be able to compare those and may be informing themselves inappropriately, so to speak, with the data. It may be misleading with the information they're getting. So it's crucial for calibration. So that's for next year. But the other thing is there's just erroneous data that needs to be cleaned out. And there's ways to clean out that waste. There's software programs. You can even do it in a spreadsheet if you're so willing. It's pretty tedious, but it really needs to be done if you're going to take this information and make it actionable, intelligent decisions from that.
You mentioned your background is in soil. What about soil data that you might get, how you might be able to use that for the next growing season?
Right. So if you had the opportunity to take fall soil samples this year and you didn't put on fertilizer yet, or maybe you did, or you're waiting till the spring for, say, nitrogen or phosphorus and so on with the other nutrients, that's a piece of information we can use and turn those points into a map that can then be used to guide fertilizer decisions. And so that sounds a lot easier than it really is. And so it really takes diligent kind of guidance going through and turning that into what we call an interpolated map to actually make a recommendation from. And so that's no easy task. Software has to be there to help us do it, but there's a lot of pitfalls with using that data.
Nebraska Extension is holding a series of workshops, the Precision Ag Data Management Workshops, January and February across locations in Nebraska. What might one learn by attending these workshops, Brian?
Loads of stuff, but it's important to note that this isn't going to be everything. It's an introduction to that conversation. So we have 2 days. The first day is really for more beginners with the software, and then the second day is for more advanced topics. We go through yield editing, which is absolutely critical, first step. We talk about as applied data, multi-layer information, bringing in soils, aerial imagery, crop canopy sensors, nitrogen management, that kind of thing. And so we go through easier forms of that and more complex forms. We teach a little theory about what we're thinking, but then most of it is hands-on, how to, there's at least 4 of us staff in these things trying to help out and answer questions. And the conversation, of course, doesn't have to end there. You can always call us, but this is a good way to get their minds going and working with it, especially before this next growing season when there's still time to hopefully do something.
Those workshops will take place in Meade, Norfolk, Clay Center, and Gothenburg in January, February, and March. Pre-registration and an attendance fee are required. You can find more of that information through a link on the Market Journal website.